Hello again everybody. Today I'm going to show you how to set up a caldav server on openmediavault. Other than setting up something big like owncloud or nextcloud, which I'm currently trying to move away from to see if I can, for various reasons. So I've been looking at how could I set up just one thing to do one or two small little jobs, like just be a webdav or caldav or a carddav service, rather than this one thing fitting everything mentality that owncloud has. One of the big reasons for this is because the owncloud update is not very easy on openmediavault. In fact, sometimes it really does break if you're trying to go to much newer versions than they have in the plugins windows. So they're currently on version 6 or 7, I think, but version 9, 10's been out or coming out very shortly, and it's very, very difficult to update. So rather than doing that, I'm going to try and replace them with some easier software, in my opinion. So the caldav software that I'm going to use is this one called Radicale, or radicale, or however that's said, which is a good piece of software once you get it working, and it is not the easiest thing to get working, believe me, which is the point for this video. I've now got it working, I think, really, really well. I've had numerous issues with different things, which I'll explain as we go through it, but this is the best way I've found to do it, and the most secure way that I've found to do it so far. So I'll show you how it's done. Okay, so clear the screen, and now apt get update. We're going to have to download a few packages just to be able to install this properly, and also to set our passwords and things like that. So the packages we're going to want are apt get install. We want Python, setup tools, and Apache 2 utils. Now, we're not going to be using Apache itself, but we need the utilities to be able to make our passwords and things like that for our users. Right, so in order to get this working, I'm going to do most of this over SSH. A little bit will be done in the web GUI, but that's more of a small little simplified hack to get some of it working that I will show you later on. So first of all, we connect to our server. Now I've changed different things on mine, so I've changed the port number, so I have to put that in, and then I want my IP address. Oops, 1.3.4, and according to my server, that's what it currently is. Put in my password, and I'm going to switch to the root user to do all of this. So be very careful when you're the root user. You do not want to break anything. Now, the first time I did this in a VirtualBox installation, so that I could test everything, and then I could put the snapshot back and do it all again, so you could see how to do it. But I have got this working on my main server as well. But I don't want to have to undo everything just to do it all again, so I'm going to do it in VirtualBox here. So once we've got SSH'd into there, we're going to cd to our var/www folder in there, and we're going to make a new directory. I'm going to call it Radicale. CD into that. Okay, now that we're in there, we're going to download Radicale. Now, to do this the easy way, we'll go back to the website, download, scroll down, I want the latest one here, right click, I want to copy the address, and then I'm going to wget, and then I'm going to paste the address in there. There we go, so that's now downloaded, we can see it there, and we're just going to have to extract that package. So tar-x for extract, z for the zipping, and f for the file, and the file is rad. There we go, done. Now once we've done that, we can delete the archive file that we downloaded, so rm radicale dot gone. So we're left with just radical on its own. Okay. Okay, so now we have everything installed. We have to copy one of these files. So we have this file called, where's it gone? Config here, which contains quite a lot of information. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy that first, copy that to a folder that we have to make. So we're going to make a directory, -etsy radical. Okay, and then I've already made that, so I'm going to do the next step, which is copy the config to Etsy radical, like that. Okay, and then we're going to have a look at editing it. Nano Etsy dash radical conf fic. Here we go. Right, so this is it. So it's a huge file. Well, it's not that big actually, but it's quite daunting when you first look at it. Most of this we're just going to leave as it is. Okay, we're going to leave it commented out because we're not going to use it. Now, this took a long time to get working. We're not going to use this to set up our authenticating or any of that. We're going to use Nginx to do all of that for us because it's already been set up by openmediavault. So we just need to tell this a couple of things to get it working. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to change the hosts. Okay, and the host is just going to be this machine here, so 127.0.0.1. that just tells it it's the machine that's on. So if it's that for you, you'll just put that. It's not the actual IP address of the machine, although you can put that. So I could put 192.168.1.134 and it would work absolutely fine. If I wanted to have my actual domain that I have registered on there, I'd put a comma and then I'd put my domain on there as well, otherwise I wouldn't be able to connect to it properly. So, but for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to use the normal straightforward 127.0.0.1. There we go, and the port number, don't forget to put the port number in. Right, this part here, daemon flag, that means are you going to let it run in the background? Okay, well yes we are. We don't want it running in the foreground all of the time, or we won't be able to do anything in our console, so we're just going to change that to true and delete the little comment. Okay, most of this you can leave. Now this SSL flag, so it's encrypted, you don't have to do because we're going to encrypt it with Nginx. Okay, and this and Nginx are on the same machine, so we don't have to have those re-encrypt and then decrypt yet again, so we can leave all of that out. Okay, so move, oh I've missed a part out up here somewhere. Where is it? Where has it gone? No, maybe I didn't miss it. This is it, base prefix. Okay, so we're going to just change this to radical. Okay, and that says that once you get this radical part when you type it in, Nginx will pass it over to radical, and radical will just take over working the way that it's supposed to work. So we're going to put that in there, radical. Okay, leave most of this. Leave the authentication out. Don't need any of that. I'm just going to skip right near to the bottom. And I'm just going to change. Where is it? Storage. Here we go. So we're going to store it on the file system. And now we're going to choose where we store it. If we leave it there, it's going to be in the root folder, and then we end up with quite a few problems. So I'm going to store it in /var/radical-1.1.1 collections. Okay, that's going to be in there. And in fact, no, I will just change that to radical, seeing as I made the folder earlier. There we go. And collections. Done. Moving down, don't need to change any of this. So exit, Control X, save, yes, enter, done. Okay, moving on. Okay, so I've just cleared the screen. Now, the next step that we're going to try and do is to set up the web server to configure all the authentication steps for us, rather than using the config from Radicale. The reason we're going to do this is because I've been trying for quite a while now, as have numerous people, to get the authentication in Radicale to work properly and reliably, but most of the time, once I get it all set up and configured, I go to the website and it doesn't even ask me for a username or password. So I found several posts and several websites that say you can use take advantage of Apache or Nginx to do this for you, and then just send it, once you've authenticated yourself, send it to the Radicale server, and then that will take care of all your caldav stuff. So it tends to be a lot more reliable, because that's what the front end of your web server is using anyway. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, now this has taken quite a bit of work from me and I've had some other help from people to get this working, because openmediavault is unusual in the way that it sets up Nginx. So you really have to do it in almost a bit of a strange way, really. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Nano. We're going to actually select, we're going to select Nano, Etsy / Nginx / now I can't remember what the folder was now. It's this one here, this openmediavault webgui.d. Okay, and then there's a file called securityconf in there. We don't want that, so we're going to make our own. So we're going to call it openmediavault vault dash, and we'll call it radicale.conf. Okay, so we get a nice blank file, and what we're going to write into here is fairly simple actually. Now I'm going to copy and paste mine. I'll try and put this in the description box, but we've got location / radicale authenticate or auth _ basic radicale auth _ basic _ user _ file radicale.passwd. So that's telling us where we're going to get our password file from. Now that isn't actually going to work brilliantly well, so we want to be a little bit more specific here. So we're going to say that it's going to be in var www owncloud, not owncloud, sorry, openmediavault. Owncloud we're trying to get rid of. Vault radicale. It's going to be radicale-1.1.1 / and then radicale password. Now that file doesn't exist, and this won't cause it to exist. We're going to make it afterwards, and we're going to encrypt it as well. So now this proxy pass here, this is the clever part. This is actually going to mean that once you put in your IP address /radicale, it will automatically send it to here, so you don't actually need to remember which port it is. You just type in radicale and boom, you go to that port. Okay, so it's a nice little shortcut, but this is what means this will do all the authentication for you. You won't have to use Radicale itself, which I found very unreliable. Okay, so we're going to exit there, save that, press Y, save. Right, the next thing we need to do is we need to restart Nginx. So service Nginx restart, and it restarts. There we go, and that should now be fully set up for us to correctly run Radicale. Now there's a couple of things we need to do first. One is we're going to just start it and test it very, very quickly, just to check that Nginx is working. We won't be able to log in or anything yet, but if I just put radicale -- and then config
and just put where that is. So it's at Etsy / radical/conf. Okay, hit enter. And now that should be running. So to check, if I go to a website and I just type this in, so that's my IP address and then -radical and click refresh, Radical Works won't come up for you, but this box coming up tells me that it is working. It's trying to authenticate. Now I can type anything in here and it's not going to work, okay, because I haven't set up the password file yet. So we're going to do that now, and then we'll be able to hopefully log in. Okay, that's why this has come up. So let's get rid of that, and let's go and try authenticating. So let's just cancel that. So Control and C to cancel that. Let's clear the screen. Okay, now in order to make the password file, we're going to use part of Apache. Although we're not using the full Apache server here, we're going to use that tools file that we downloaded, which contains something called htpassword. Okay, dash. Now we're going to put a C, and that means even if the file was already there, I want you to overwrite it. So we only use this for the first user that we add, and then I'm going to use crypt in order to encrypt it. SHA1 is considered to be not very secure anymore, and therefore crypt is, I think, more secure. Well, that's the one I'm going to use. If you want to use SHA1, then here you just change that to an S. Okay, but I've been recommended to use this one, so that's the one I'm going to use. And then we put where we're going to store the file, so that was in var www.openmediavault radical, and then we called it radicale.passwd. You can call it whatever you want, as long as it matches what you put in that config file that we just had open. So we're going to hit that. Okay, that did not work. Oh, I forgot to put the username. So you can have any name you want. It does not have to be the name of any of the users. I'm going to put 1E here, even though that is a user on this machine. That actually does not matter. So it can be anything. Hit enter. Put in your new password. Okay, and that's that done. So if we just go back and try running Radical again by pressing up, we can go through our previous commands. So radical config, there we go, hit enter. And now if I switch back to my web browser and hit refresh, and I try ARM1E, my password, Radical works. There we go. So that's telling me everything is working. So once I get it working, I can then start making calendars and things like that. So that's really good. There's a couple of steps that we want to do just to make it a bit more secure, but so far everything's looking pretty good. So let's just clear the screen again. Oops, sorry, Control cancel to stop Radical from working. Let's clear the screen. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to go back into our conf file now that we know that this is working. So now config, and we're just going to change daemon to true. Control X, yes. So now when I run Radical, it will just run in the background. Okay, which is fine. I don't have to cancel it. If I want to cancel it, I'll have to kill the process or reboot the machine. Right, so things that we need to do next, we want to make it slightly more secure, so we're going to add an SSL certificate, and that will mean that we encrypt all the traffic going in and out of the server. We're not going to add SSL to Radical itself, because Radical and the Nginx server are all on the same machine, so we don't need to do that. Once it gets into the machine, it doesn't have to be encrypted anymore. It'll be decrypted, so it'll be re-encrypted before it goes back out onto the internet and to my calendar device. But I'm going to use Nginx to do all of the SSL, and there's a nice little shortcut that we can use in order to do that, which I'll show you next. Okay, so I've logged into the openmediavault web GUI, and what I'm going to do is use a little trick. General settings, if we turn on enable SSL, and in the certificate drop down, as long as you've got a certificate on your machine, you can just click one. So this is just a self-signed one that I've made, and I can do another video on that if people aren't sure how to do that. If you've used Let's Encrypt, because you own a domain, you can just choose your actual proper certificate in here as well. Make sure this is turned on, and then we can force an SSL connection as well, so we can turn that on, and we just have to click save, and then don't forget for the little pop-up to come up. There we go, click apply, yes. Now there's probably error out, there we go, because now we have to use let's leave, let's try and look, there we go, HTTPS. Now the problem is, because I've used a self-signed certificate, I get this here. Now I'm using Chrome, you get a similar thing in Firefox. If I click advanced and go to proceed, it says it's unsafe, and that's because it doesn't recognise the certificate, but it still will encrypt everything. So that's fine. In Firefox you can actually permanently add it so that it doesn't come up with that error anymore. Now what we can do is turn this back off afterwards, but let's just have a look at our little shortcuts. So if I go back here to my terminal and I want to edit this file here, so the Nginx openmediavault webgui.d, oh no, I don't want that one, sorry, that's not the one I want. We do want that one in a minute. It's the Nginx sites dash enabled, and then just hit tab again, and you get openmediavault because it's the only one in there. Hit enter. Now this you do not want to mess about with, or you won't be able to access your web GUI again properly without resetting everything. But this part here, if we'd looked at this earlier, this wouldn't have been here. So this is saying look on port 443, which is the SSL one, HTTPS. SSL certificate is here, SSL key is here, include, now I don't need that, but if I copy, I have a choice. I can either copy this over or not. This says here that it's going to include anything that's in the webgui.d conf folder. So this SSL certificate now covers me for Radical, okay, just by having it on. Now if you didn't want it on all the time, what you can do is you can copy this over to Radical, okay, into the file, the config file that we made earlier, just paste it in there, and then you can go back into the GUI, turn it off, and then restart Nginx, and it should all work. The problem you may get is if you leave this in here and you have it in your Radical version, it throws up an error because it's got the same thing listed twice. You need this whole thing here, sorry. So it would have the same thing twice and it wouldn't like it. Now for ease of use and to keep this video short, I'm just going to leave it like that, so that now Radical will be locked into an SSL, so it's all encrypted whenever you send anything to or from it, so people can't look at your data and see what your, I mean, to be fair, it's just a calendar, but more for if you're setting up your address book, you don't want people looking at all your addresses. So I'm happy to have all of my openmediavault encrypted that way, and on my actual server I have a Let's Encrypt certificate, so I won't get any errors anyway, so I'm going to leave this as it is. So let's just exit. Okay, so if we now go back here and we try to get into Radical, so dash radicale, yes, I want to leave. Okay, try and log in, and password, oh whoops, what did I do wrong there? It's because oh, I know what it is, because I'm an idiot. I forgot to actually start Radical. Radical dash dash config, and then there's etc dash radical dash conf. Okay, so that's now running, so I can now type away. It's just running in the background because I set it to daemon earlier. Right, let's just try that again. Hopefully I won't have a heart attack again. Here we go. There we go. Radical works, and it's encrypted. Like I said before, the only reason you've got a line through here is because it doesn't recognise this certificate. Your connection is not private, Okay, stop using an invalid certificate. That's why, because it says it's an invalid certificate. So it is encrypted, but it's not a valid certificate apparently. Okay, and if you click all this, it will take you through and try and get you to do all sorts of stuff. So we're going to ignore that, but that should encrypt all your data. And there's ways of checking that I'm not going to go into now. But like I say, if you use a Let's Encrypt one or a Start SSL one, Let's Encrypt is probably a lot easier because there's a plugin for it. You won't have any of those problems. Okay, I've just loaded Firefox just to show you this. So if we try and go to Radical here, connection is not secure. Okay, advanced, add exception, because it's from an unknown issuer. You see, that's why. And we're just going to say location, okay, blah blah blah, and permanently store this exception, confirm exception. And if I actually had Radical running, you wouldn't get that error anymore. Okay, so let's just try again. 192.168.1.134 / there we go, admin, oops, not admin. Okay, and that's trying to get me to access all my calendars and stuff, but I don't want to do that. But you can see I didn't get the error. It was actually forcing me to use HTTPS. Not that you can see it, so let's just do it again. There you go. So HTTPS, and it is working. It's just trying to get me to go through and download loads of stuff. Okay, so I know it works, which is fantastic. So there we go, Radical works. Don't forget this trailing slash. If you don't put it on there, it will think you're trying to download that Radical file, which I'm not. So trailing slash, bang, get you onto here. HTTPS, brilliant. Okay, so there's one more thing to do, and that is to just secure our server a tiny little bit more. I don't really want Radical running as the root user. For security reasons, we should have it running as its own user. It doesn't need to have root privileges, and it will stop it being able to maliciously do anything if there was some massive bug. So we're just going to have it create a new user, and then once we've created that user, we're going to use that user to start Radical on boot. So this is how we do that. What we need to do now is quickly make the collections folder where all of our calendars are going to be stored. So that's dead easy. We just type make directory and dash var dash open openmediavault Radical and then collections. Okay, and then hit enter. Now it's not going to work for me because I've already made the folder, as you can see, but that would make the folder. Let's just clear the screen. Right, there's one more thing to do, which is to create a user that's only purpose is going to be to run Radical, and that will make Radical a little bit more secure. It can't get into folders it's not supposed to and things like that. So in order to do that, we're going to type user add, oops, not in there, we're not, user add dash. Now if we put dash D, we can actually make a home directory and all things like that, but I don't need that. I just need a user on the system that I can force to do this. Okay, so we're going to have user add, and we're just going to put dash U. Now dash U will make it a user and a group Radical. Okay, so that adds the user, and then next we're going to set the password for that user. Okay, password for Radical, and I'll enter a secure password, and there we go, password updated securely. So that user now has doesn't have a home directory because it doesn't need one, but it does have a group. So we can use that to now start Radical if we want to at boot. Now to test it beforehand, we're going to do this. So we're going to change our user. We're then going to put a command in, and then we're going to tell it to start under the Radical user. Now I'm just going to do it now. So we need to put nano slash, let's see, slash rc.local. So this is a file that gets used at boot all the time. So it's important that we have this running as a daemon, so that it just runs in the background and continues, not waiting for anything to finish. So the syntax here is a little bit strange. So it's su, so we're going to use a different user. So su, and then we type in -c to say that we're going to use a command, and the command that we want to use is radical. Same command that we've used all through the video, config, and then the config file, let's see, slash radical slash config, and then another apostrophe, there we go, and then we put the user. Okay, so that's the user, and exit that, Control X, hit Y, enter, done. Last thing we need to do, that collections folder that we made earlier, because we made it as the root user, it's got root privileges, so we're just going to quickly change that. So we're going to put chown, change owner, and we're going to change the -var -www openmediavault var www openmediavault radical collections, and the user that we're going to use is radical and group radical. Enter, done. Right, now let's reboot, and hopefully this should work. So I've now been I'm about to be logged out of my machine. There we go, so I'm back onto my main machine, and if I just give it a minute to reboot, we can try it. Okay, so I've rebooted and it seems to have worked. Just to prove it, I've got a program that I've already installed called htop. It doesn't come as standard, so you have to install it from the package manager, and in htop we can just scroll down, and we're just looking at the users, and here we can see radical, and it started this radical script and it is running, and if I want to stop it I can just kill process 2412 and 2411 and that'll kill it. So just quit queue to quit, there we go. So that is all running, and I should be able to refresh. There we go, radical is working, so that's great. Now the next thing that we're going to do is just very quickly show you how to add calendars using this. Okay, so if you want to check calendars or anything, any client will do this, but I'm going to use Thunderbird here. So if you go to the drop down menu and go to add-ons, okay, what you need to find is the lightning extension, which I've already got installed, and because of that it didn't come up, which is really annoying. My extension's lightning, there we go, click install, restart Thunderbird, and that should work. So I'll restart, come back. Okay, so when you restart Thunderbird you will get something that looks like this, but you'll might have emails in there. To get to your calendar you want to click here and your calendar will pop up. Now you automatically get a home calendar, but we're going to add a new calendar on the network. Next we're going to go with the caldav calendar, and we're going to have https:// then your IP address, whatever it comes up with in openmediavault, /radical/ your username any of the ones that you've set up. If you've set up multiple ones, that's fine. And then, even though we haven't set up a calendar, you can name any calendar you want. Testing calendar. Really important, you must put the trailing slash on the end. Okay, and that tells it that's everything. So I'm going to turn that off just to check that it's working. You can leave that on, it means it will save it on your system and then sync periodically, but I want to turn it off for now just so that I can check it works. So click next. You can name it anything you want, so there we go. You can pick whatever colour you want. Let's have it red so it's a bit different, and then show reminders. You can set an email up. I don't have any set up. Calendar's been created. There it is. There's no error here saying it can't connect. So let's see. Let's just try and make something here. So send video to YouTube. Make sure this is on the correct calendar, which it is. Save and close, and ta-da, there we go. So it's sent. Now because I had that offline mode not enabled, if that hadn't connected properly, that wouldn't have come up. Okay, so that's really important. So that is working. And then if I connect on my phone to that caldav server, if you're using Android, which is what I have on mine, then you need to make sure you select the use SSL on there, seeing as we've got it all set up. So, and there we go, all working, all beautiful. So I hope that's been helpful to people. It's been an absolute nightmare trying to get this working. That's why the video has been made, because the documentation out there is okay but not great, and openmediavault on top of that having a slightly different way of working made it a bit of a nightmare. So thank yous to all the people that have helped make this work, especially in some of the IRC chats. Really useful guys. So hope you stick around for any more videos. Thanks for watching. See you later.